morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for that. We do appreciate it. Please remember, Facebook does keep these shows live, so you can go check them out throughout the day. You do not have to watch live here in the morning. It's about 7:15 hour. Of course, we do upload these shows as well to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have audio and video versions for you to check out there. Do apologize for not being able to do the show yesterday. Found out later in the day, had a battery short in my camera. Was able to get a replacement for that, so we are back in business. So do apologize for that. We did post the headlines from yesterday. Want to remind folks that we are kind of working back here. We did make the 7:15 hour this morning, and we are working back towards getting in between 6:30 and 7 in terms of a start time that is for my personal schedule. Now, of course, you can start a watch party or watch this show throughout the day whenever you want. If you're not interested in the traffic, of course, the weather should stay persistent throughout the day. That is, of course, if the folks who are giving me the information get that 50-50 right. We all know how the meteorologists work, but we still want to give you that weather. Of course, the current temperature we know is correct. However, we are working towards, again, getting in between 6:30 and 7. Of course, you can watch the show anytime during the day because the headlines will stay pertinent. Good morning, Mr. JT. For those of you who are interested, on Wednesday, I sat down and did a podcast with Mr. Jonathan JT Taylor. He is running for the mayor of Livingston. You can find it on our website, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. Livingston is a hotbed right now. Contentious mayor's race, contentious chief of police race, and 10 running for 5 seats on the board of aldermen. So it's going to be fun. We're going to be diving into that in the September, October range, try to get some information out to you guys before the election in November, and of course before early voting there in the last week of October. Yeah, you did. I think you did. You just talked too much and you broke the camera. At any rate, getting into your traffic today, you've got minor delays at Range and I-12. However, I-12 is flowing. You're looking at minor delays on those on-ramps as well. Minor delays at 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190, as well as some minor delays on 64 heading into Central. Here at about 7:15, your school traffic is starting to ramp up. Please remember, we're still in that hybrid learning method, so it's only about 50% of kids going to school. Please try to bring your kids to school. We're still trying to push that message. If you, because the limited capacity on buses, so if you can, please try to carpool your kids to school. It's currently 69 degrees, 91 degrees is your high today, 71 your overnight low. There's a 30% chance of rain this afternoon, starting at about 3 p.m. Probably not as bad as some of the stuff we got last night. What a thunder bumper. But again, about 30% chance of rain this afternoon. Wouldn't hurt to pack an umbrella on your way out the door. Speaking of the Taylors, yesterday Assessor Jeff Taylor hosted a teletown hall. He was supposed to have a live video on Facebook. I don't think that quite made it up, but he did get to do his teleconference. It's about assessments, and it is a reassessment year. And for the most part, property values in Livingston Parish have gone up. Also, flood discounts are falling off this year, and the COVID-19 discount is not going to quite make up for that flood discount. The assessor was a little concerned that he hadn't gotten more calls. Of course, the books are open for you to come dispute your property tax value at the assessor's office in Livingston. It's a new building in front of the courthouse, and he awaits your calls. He is also going to be doing another podcast with me. We did one earlier in June to kind of lead into this, and maybe some people forgot. It was about 6 weeks ago. So he and I are going to be sitting down again to discuss some of the details and how exactly people can go about coming up to his office to dispute their property tax value. Now, there is also still going to be a flood discount for those who can prove that they are still working on their home. So if you have pictures, video of your home still being worked on present day, bring them up to the assessor's office. You can still get that flood discount. Again, we'll be sitting down with Assessor Jeff Taylor next week. The governor yesterday, and it's kind of become, I guess you could say, a meme already online, has warned that 2 potential hurricanes, right now are tropical depressions, could be entering the Gulf at the same time, roughly Sunday, Monday timeline, getting up close to the United States Gulf Coast somewhere around Tuesday. Right now, the good old spaghetti models have them anywhere from the shoehorn of Florida down to Corpus Christi in Texas for landfall. We're not entirely sure what's going to happen. There is a phenomenon where hurricanes can combine. I've never seen that before. I don't know anyone who has, but it's something that can happen. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those. Sometime next Tuesday, Wednesday, we will probably start feeling the effects of that. So please get a game plan. Go to getagameplan.org. That is the Louisiana Department of Homeland Security's web portal for trying to prepare for a hurricane. And let's remember to have the necessary amount of toilet paper, but not too much. ServPro of South Denham Springs is offering cleaning for the Denham Springs Police Department. They've been doing this weekly since the beginning of COVID, and it's to help the police department financially keep up with the cleaning requirements brought about by COVID-19 and keeping up with those CDC guidelines. So ServPro has been offering that service to the Denham Springs Police Department to help them stay within budget, but also keep up with those CDC guidelines, which is a tough bridge or a tough gap to bridge for a lot of different entities, including schools. And we'll talk more about schools in a second. Want to get into these mitigation efforts real quick before we talk about your COVID-19 statistics. Wear a mask in public. It is a mandate. Wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. Control your cough and your sneezing with an elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor. There are currently 140,821 cases of coronavirus in the state, 4,496 deaths on 1,719,034 total tests. 118,120 have recovered. That's a great number. 1,087 hospitalized. That is a great number because it is going down. Fortunately, a lot of those have turned into deaths, but hopefully we can keep that hospitalization low now that we realize, okay, if we don't pay a whole lot of attention to this, start sending people to the hospital. 178 of those 1,087 are on ventilators. In Livingston Parish, 3,197 cases, 60 deaths, 30,561 tests. Yesterday, we learned that on Wednesday, Senator Bill Cassidy was tested for COVID-19. He received the results and tested positive. He has minor symptoms. He is quarantining at the moment for 14 days. Not entirely sure how he got it at this point. He crossed paths with somebody that had it. Once he was informed, he went and got tested and found out he was positive. Now, we're not entirely sure what cross paths meant in terms of it could have been a staffer. It could have been somebody when he was doing an official visit, or when somebody was having a meeting with him. We're not real sure. We just know that he crossed paths with somebody that tested positive. He himself got tested and is tested positive, so he will be quarantined. He is currently, of course, trying to battle COVID-19 and a stimulus package in the Senate, but he is also rerunning for his seat, which is up for election in this November's election. So he's got a lot on his plate, and we wish him a speedy recovery. In Louisiana, the House and Senate committees have both now passed the new election guidelines that are supposed to take into account COVID-19 that will be coming up for this fall election. These are much reduced from the summer election. They do not, I guess you can say, contain as much leeway, especially in terms of absentee voting and extra voting. Proponents for this plan said that most of the people that did I guess you could say the mail-in ballots or absentee voting were already eligible for that anyway. They were over 65. I believe it was about 19% chose to do it that way of those who voted, and they would all have been eligible for that anyway. Secretary of State Kyle Ardwan said that the United States Postal Service also struggled to get those ballots in on time. It was very difficult for their logistics. Now, on the other end of that, there are some that said, well, the turnout for all of the summer elections, which would have been spring, was low. How are we going to handle this when we have, a presidential election, which in some cases can bring as much as 80% of voter turnout? So we're going to see what happens this fall. What's interesting about this is it's now passed both committees. It now must go through the House and the Senate themselves. Once it reaches the governor has openly expressed that he is going to veto it. So we're going to see whether or not they can get those veto-proof votes or not. If they can't, we're back to the drawing board. We still have about 8 weeks until this really starts to get ramped up. It's good for them to go ahead and start addressing it. But as of right now, it looks like you're going to have an impasse between the legislature and the governor, again, on that fall election sort of guidelines for protecting against COVID-19. New unemployment claims nationwide have jumped back up above 1 million new claims as of last week. We had fallen below 1 million new claims and had been going down rather steadily, probably about the last 3 or 4 weeks. Unfortunately, this new jump kind of means that we're not quite done with COVID. The economy is not quite done with COVID. And so we're back, kind of moving back up, getting back more unemployed. Right now, you're looking at about between 7,500 and 8,000 unemployed in the Livingston Parish area. It has dropped to about 52,000 unemployed in the greater Baton Rouge area, which is a great number. It was over 60 about 4 weeks ago. It looks like a lot of people on that July 31st drop dead date for enhanced benefits tried to go out and find some jobs. It looks like some people were successful. Now, of course, President Donald Trump did sign an extension of the unemployment benefits, which kept them rolling. Unfortunately, not immediately. A lot of states had to figure out a way to fund it. Louisiana is one of those. They eventually turned around and applied for a grant from the Federal Emergency Management Administration, which would be FEMA, and from $44 billion worth of disaster funds, the state is going to be able to get $300 a week per claimant, free, not necessarily free of charge. No such thing as a free lunch, but they are going to get that money without having to dip into current unemployment funds, which of course have dropped to a level where the state must start borrowing from the federal government. Now they're looking to get a line of credit from the government that is, I guess you can say, burden-free, such that individuals will not, or individual businesses will not have to increase their unemployment tax up 30% to try to reinvigorate the unemployment trust fund that's been a point of contention. So we will see what the federal government does in their latest stimulus package, because Louisiana is not the only state facing what is called a solvency tax. That's a 30% tax increase on payroll at the state level. State Superintendent Cade Brumley has expressed that he's very interested in approaching a balanced school year schedule. What balanced means in his definition is not this anywhere from 2.5 to 3 month break over the summer, and more of short, smaller breaks. Maybe 3 weeks here, 3 weeks there, there is, a lot of fall off from education from year to year, which has been scientifically proven because of the large summer break. Staying consistent with breaks is something that there are a lot of school systems around the country that do this, that focus on smaller breaks and keeping teachers in the classroom, keeping kids in the classroom. But of course, there are more breaks. So it'll be interesting to see if Louisiana moves forward with that model. Of course, student slide, I believe is what it's called, is more prevalent now because of COVID. Kind of struggled last spring. A lot of teachers kind of pulling it together, doing what they can, learning a lot over the summer so that, virtual learning can continue for those who choose this fall. However, they're looking to reduce those breaks in between school teachings. So we're going to see if they move forward with that. Also, want to remind folks that here locally in our local school system, those administrators are asking that if anyone in your home shows symptoms of COVID-19 or child shows symptoms of COVID-19, please keep them home. Trying to reduce the spread, trying to keep the school safe, trying to keep COVID out of our educational facilities. So try to keep those kids home if at all possible. Try to keep them from going to school and spreading it, and get those kids tested, get the adults tested if they're showing symptoms, see if they have it, follow the appropriate CDC guidelines. Getting back into your mitigation efforts real quick, wear a mask in public. It is a mandate. Wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with soap and water, 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. Control your cough or your sneezing with an elbow or a tissue, preferably your own elbow. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor. Looking at your traffic real quick, you're looking at minor delays on I-12 now, especially on those on-ramps. You're looking, but it's still kind of flowing, not too bad for a Friday. Minor delays at Forage Club Road, River Road, and 190. Minor delays on 64 heading into Central, and school traffic is, of course, starting to ramp up here at the 7:30 hour. It's currently 69 degrees. 91 degrees is your high today, 71 your overnight low, 30% chance of rain this afternoon. So we're starting to get a little cooler. We'll see if August comes back a little bit with a vengeance before we start moving into those cooler weathers or cooler temperatures later in well, actually, we are almost September, but it does look like things are starting to cool off with those high temperatures, but still going to be in the 90s. Please, please, please be careful. Drink that water. Wear light clothing. Still not quite out of the woods just yet. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Want to remind you all that we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page, which is free. We have a breaking news page, which is state and national news, as well as arrests, which is free. And we have a coronavirus page where we're bringing you all the latest coronavirus information free. So please check that out online. We do also have an app to go with that. You can find us in both the Apple Store as well as Google Play on Android devices. Want to remind folks that we are still working backwards. Finally got to that 7:15 hour this morning. Good morning, Miss Karen. Thanks for joining us for actually wrapping it up here. But finally got to that 7:15 hour. So starting next week, going to try to get to that 7 a.m. and before hour again. If you want to go back, I gave a full explanation on Monday's show, but working around my personal schedule. We do hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks again for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show, and we will see you Monday morning.